So that's just where we are right now. So we already know what to look for. There has to be a consensus in terms of what we look for, because I'm tired of the bullshit. If the nose is chopped off, then we need to assume foul play. Moving forward, that's the way it's got to be. Because we don't have time anymore to try to prove, the obvious, right? If we see a statue, we see a mural, if we see, any kind of hieroglyph, anything, and the nose is off the face, then we should already know what we're dealing with. We should already know it's foul play. We should already know, okay, this is an attempt to obscure or hide the identity of said ancestor. Can we all agree on that? Can we all just agree on that? I mean, it's obvious to me, but maybe other people it's not obvious to. If the police get out their car, they pulled you over for a reason you're not aware of, and he turned off the body cam, we can assume that that's foul play, yeah? And that's how we got to start looking at these murals and these statues and the history. If we know that one of the number one indicators of foul play in erasing the identity of melanated people was knocking off the noses, then if the statue got a nose knocked off, got two noses knocked off on two, representations of the statue, we're going to go ahead and just assume y'all was trying to obscure the race. Yep, let's just go there, because I don't have time no more. I don't have time to even get to this with y'all anymore. We didn't put too much work in, and y'all falling too far behind. And I'm just going to be honest with you. If you over the age of 40, this ain't for you. I wish I could wake you up. If you over the age of 40, you've been indoctrinated, you've been propagandized under the small hat PSYOP program, which is called Pan-Africanism. You were PSYOPed under Black Power Liberation Theology. You were PSYOPed under communism. You were PSYOPed under vegetarianism. You were PSYOPed under a complete system that systematically removed you from your base so you could be chasing pie in the sky in Africa somewhere, instead of recognizing you're standing on all the gold and the resources right here up under your feet. That's what the small hat plan was all about. That's what it was all about. Black Power Liberation Theology was a tool and a weapon used against you and used to divide you against your allies. I'm going to say it again, because we ain't got time no more. All right. Just a brief overview. Right. If the nose is knocked off, what's the rule again? If the nose is knocked off, we just going to assume foul play. All right. Now let's go back. If the nose knocked off? All right. We're going to go ahead and assume, Roman emperor here, 69 AC. Right. Vitellius. We're going to assume Vitellius may have an ambiguous racial background. Right? We're not going to say black or white. I'm not trying to prove if he's black or white. I'm not trying to assert what his color is, but I am going to say it's probably ambiguous. And you need to know that if you're melanated and you're in the United States of America and you don't know your history, because you think your history began with slavery and it didn't. Okay? Right? We just going to have that conversation. All right. We're talking about Constantine the Great, the alleged first emperor of Rome. Okay, we want to understand this. Now we're talking about Constantine the Great. Okay, now I want you to look at these faces. I want you to recognize a couple of things. The head is gone. The head has been removed. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time here. This is another lecture for another day. I'm just trying to get you to wake up to understand that your history did not start with slavery. I'm just trying to get you to see that your history did not start with slavery. All right, now look here. This is Carmagnola. 5th and 6th century. All right, I'm going to read it to you right here. Put in Venice. It's in Venice now, but it didn't start there. All right, 5th century and 6th century. All right, now look at the head. All right, I need you to understand your history did not start with slavery. I need you to understand your history did not start with slavery. Head of a beardless man with short hair. This is the emperor that had short hair, beardless man, said he had a rough face. Right? Now, Now look at the profile here. Look at the profile. Then this is on the website. This is the Oxford website here, and they got the brother right there. Now you see that, all right? But let me show you a better profile, because I thought it was unusual that they had his face so far off. Let me go ahead and give you a much better picture. Now you can see what's really going on. We ain't got time. You know, family, we don't have time to be playing with these motherfuckers, bro. I'm just going to keep it real with you. I don't have time to play with y'all. Right? This is the Byzantine Empire. Right? This is one of the emperors. There are many emperors who are melanated. Right? Let me give you another look. All right? Now, if you're going to tell me, and I'm not really trying to push a racial theory here, we actually need to start getting away from that kind of thinking. But if you're going to push the narrative here that this is a white boy, you know, you can. I'm not going to argue with you. But it's just something about the features that just stand out, where you're going to know what this is and what it ain't. Okay? All right, look at the hair. All right? So, you know, extremely flat profile on the nose. The wide face, you know, and you can see the curls kind of like you can see the hair kind of like braided up here on the side. Hey, you know, I'm not here to really argue what the race is. I'm just trying to get you to wake up. All right? All right. So that's the Byzantine Empire. Now let's go back to some more Byzantine pictures, and I can jump into what I want to talk about. We talked about that already. Let's talk about go back to Constantine. Now, we know we have different depictions of Constantine, right? But like I said before, when we look at the history of the murals, we notice the noses are chopped off, or there's some obscure, you know, bust that we haven't seen. All right, we're talking about the Byzantine Empire, where Constantine was the Roman emperor from 306, right, AD to 337 AD, right? AD, after the death of Christ. Some of y'all say Common Era. All right, this is all this new shit y'all doing. We're going to say AD. All right, he was the ruler. All right, he was responsible for the great conversion to Christianity. All right, and subsequent Christianization of the Roman Empire. So before Constantine, Rome had a number of different religious practices and different, you know, influences. But it was Constantine who set down Christianity in the seat of Rome. All right? Constantine ruled Rome from 306 AD, after the death of Christ, until 337 AD. It was a rule of 31 years. All right? 57 years is how long he lived. He was king at 26. On the other flip side, you had the Byzantine emperors, right? They're not rulers of Rome, but they ruled the Byzantine Empire, also known as the Eastern Roman Empire. Right? So I'm just going through the history here. This is from the 4th century, right? Shortly after the death of Christ, all the way through 8th century, right? I'm just jumping through these. I'm jumping through. I want you to see, we're going through time now. See, Alexander, boom, right? Then we land here, which is Komnenos. We call him Manuel Komnenos. He was the emperor of the Byzantine Empire. This is Eastern Rome. This is the Eastern Roman Empire. It was centered in Constantinople, known today as modern Istanbul, okay? And had its own distinct history separate from Rome. So there's the Byzantine Empire, which is largely made up of melanated emperors. And then you have the Roman Empire. Okay, a lot of people in the conscious community, they want to try to say everything, you know, everything in Rome was black. No, that's not true. The Roman Empire was not ruled all by black emperors. All right, that's just not true. Neither was the Byzantine Empire, but there were black emperors that ruled. Now we're going to go to Komnenos, just to have a good look at him. This is Komnenos right here and his wife, second wife. All right, he had a first wife. This is second wife. Now I want you to look at him. Okay, this is no speculation. All right, we know that this man was melanated. I want you to understand, family, I'm not trying to put you on a race rabbit hunt. I'm trying to show you that we had a history long before slavery. Long before slavery. That's him and his wife right there. And this is this is a blogger page, a collection of interesting facts and stories of the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire was largely made up of melanated emperors. Right? Here's a little spiel right here of the different ones we had. I'm not going to go through all of them. I just want you to understand, don't get this ideal in your head that Rome and Europe and all of these areas, in around Greece was just made up of white people. That's completely false. Okay, you have a huge population of melanated people in these areas. All right, they just gave you a watered down, whitewashed version of European history. All right, so I want you to understand that. So not only that, let me go here. Let me go here. So we're going back a little bit. So I took you a little forward with your boy Manuel Comenos. I jumped a little ahead. I'm jumping back to 476. Okay, 476 AD, right? The fall of Rome, because that's when the Germanic invasion happened and the last emperor of Rome to rule the western part of the Roman Empire. A lot of reasons why Rome fell. But what I want to point you to is that some say that the split into Eastern and Western empires in Rome, governed by separate emperors, caused Rome to fall. All right? Okay? You can't have two chefs in the kitchen. All right? The eastern half became the Byzantine Empire, which is predominantly ruled by melanated people, with its capital, right, in Constantinople, modern day Istanbul, right? But there's no doubt that the Western Roman Empire fell, and the widespread and long-term social disarray and insecurity followed the decline of the Roman Empire and the graceful affiliation of masses of the society. So I want you to understand this black part of Rome and this white part of Rome were kind of fighting for hegemony. And during this time, at this exact moment, there's a rock relief showing the Roman Emperor Valerian captured by Shapur, right? Now look at this, look at it. Now you tell me. I want you to look at this reef. See, these is questions we got to start asking now, right? We got questions we got to start asking now. And I'm not trying to prove necessarily a racial identity, but I am trying to show you is that there's more to the story than what they're telling you. There's more to the story. All right. Now this is Shapur. This is a cliff structure of Shapur. Now who is Shapur? I'm just giving you the history, fam. You got to walk with me here. I'm going to get into Native American. I'm going to get into that in a minute. All right. But I want you to understand who's who. Okay. Now, Shapur was the second Sassanian king of Iran. He was the second Sassanian king of Iran. All right. And his reign, for the most part, it's pretty much been disputed. But, they say that he reigned from 240 AD to 270. Right. Okay. So you got to understand that who this guy was. Obviously, he was melanated. But when we go back to the emperor here, Valerian, and we look at this picture of him, all right, so we look at this mural and we look at these people on here, man. Now, come on, bro. All right, I just want you to know it's black people all over Rome, bro. It's black people all over Rome. And if you're thinking that there wasn't any black people, then you confuse and deceive. Bro, I mean, I can look at it and clearly tell that this is a brother. Now, maybe you can't see it, but I can see it. All right, this is clearly a brother. Look at his beard. Look how his beard is laid out. I mean, look at that. All right. So this idea that Rome and Constantinople and these areas is just all Europeans is a lie. It's a whitewash. All right. It's a whitewash. What I had to do, family, just so you can do your own research, you're gonna have to start going to the coins, because the pictures and the murals, they've been under controlled opposition for, well over 1,000 years. All of the history has been wiped. But one thing that they didn't think to change was the money. So if you go back and look at some of the money, you'll be able to see who's who. Like, for example, I'm going to go to, go to these, right? So here's a coin, right, with the reverse legend of the Victoral, right? This is from Syria. And you have Constantine's helmet, right? Constantine the Great, right? But it only occurs a few times, right? There's also the Eyes of the Heavens coin. So there are a couple of coins that they marked depicting Constantine. But there are other coins of Constantine that show him sort of looking different, right? So that's why you have to go to the money, because the money ain't gonna lie, bro. They ain't gonna put no fake mural on the money unless they're trying to hide something. So the money here, if you look at this bust of Constantine, clearly looks, like he has some mixed heritage here. All right, clearly looks like that, and that's where you're gonna have to start looking at the money. Here's another mural. Okay, now here's the Eyes of the Heavens bust. Typically was officially used in the bronze, right, in 3 reverse types. All right. Now look at this. Okay. Now that don't look like a white man to me. That look like a brother on that coin. That looks like a black man on that coin. That's just me. I'm not trying to force any assertions. You have to decide what work for you. But I know what the fuck I'm looking at. All right. I know what I'm looking at. All right. So they've done a really good job trying to whitewash and water down who was who. And by no means am I saying the entire Roman Empire was black people. I'm not saying that. But I am saying the black people that were rulers and emperors and the black people that did have power, they've been written out of history. They've been whitewashed. All right. We'll get into some of the queens and some of the mistresses a little bit later. But I wanted to show you that because it's very important that you understand that as we go to this next stage. Right. Here's another coin. And look at this. Right. And this is a French coin dated in 1838. 1838. Now, bro, come on. I mean, do I have to spell this out for you? We know what the fuck we looking at. We ain't stupid. Come on, man. Quit playing with me. Right? We're not playing no games. See, and so a lot of times when y'all try to go to the books, the secrets are hidden in the books. But when you go to the paintings and some of the art museums, you realize, man, that there's a lot of history here. A lot of this shit been hidden, man. A lot of this shit been hidden from y'all, and now it's just now coming out. So we gotta have these tough conversations about who's who. Why am I starting with this? Why am I going with this? Right? Here's one right here. If they even let me get to it, right? We go into the bus here, Byzantine Empire. We could tell that Caminos was a brother. We could tell that Michael Ducas was a brother. Clearly, you could tell that. Okay? So we need to have that conversation. All right? So don't get this idea out of your head that it was all whitewash and all this, that, and the other. No. I'm skipping through a lot of it. Here go one of the queens. Right? This is Agnes of Rome. Agnes of Rome. Now, you probably thinking I photoshopped this picture. That's the real picture. Now, bro, a light-skinned sister when you see it. You know a light-skinned black woman when you see her. Quit playing with me, man. I don't have time to play with y'all. All right? I'm not going to go through all of it right now. I'm just want to show you who's who. I want to show you who's who. Christianity as a state religion of the Roman Empire, right? The first council of Nicaea, I told you, formalized Christianity. That's when they took out the books of the Bible. Remember? We talked about that before, right? And Rome became the center of Christianity. Rome was sacked with albino Germans through the papacy who remained in Rome. Constantinople became predominant, and in 800 AD, Pope Leo III crowned Charles I king, right, as a Holy Roman Emperor. Under protection of those emperors, the Pope once again was able to exert authority. The Pope been running this whole thing. We're going to get into the Pope today. We're going to get into who's running what. It ain't white people that's running the world. It ain't white people that run the world. I'm going to show you who run the world in a little bit. And it ain't black people either. I'm going to show you who's who. Now, this sister here, so that's what happened in Christianity when Constantine took over Rome. Here is Berengaria. Berengaria. We know a black woman when we see it. Right? Now, I bet you never knew that. No one ever told you that in the history books. You had queens up in there, real black queens up in the in the papacy, in the house. All right. So this is Queen of England, and she was the wife of Richard the First. Yep. All right. So I just want to show you your history goes long and deep. Your history goes long and deep. You need to understand that. You need to understand that your history has been whitewashed. It's been removed. And if it's happening like this in Rome, what do you think happened in the United States? What do you think happened in the United States if it happened in Rome? I'm just going through these pictures. I'm not going to stop on each of these pictures. I just want you to understand what it is. And quit playing with me. And quit playing with me. I need you to understand what's going on. Right? Now, I'm going to tell you who you fighting in a minute. I'm going to tell you who you are really fighting. But I need to set down the foundation first. All right? There's been many wars with black men and blacks, white people fighting. Black men and white men have united to fight. There's been a lot of history that has been kind of swept under the rug for y'all. All right? That you need to understand. All right? King of France, Charles, you didn't know he was a brother. See? You don't know the history. You do not know the history. No one's saying, I'm just breezing through this. And this is a real history at .com. Real history www.com. Not 3 W's, 2 W's. All right? I'm going to show you what this is. This is Charlemagne, right? Charlemagne. I'm going to show you what this is right here in a minute. See, y'all have been lulled to sleep. Y'all have been lulled to sleep, and you don't know who's ruling the planet. This right here is who's ruling the planet, and this is a symbol of their great immaculate conception here, where they got two diametrically opposed natures into one being. And I'm going to show you who that is in a little bit. But I just want to go through these murals, man. I want you to see who you're looking at. I want you to see who you're looking at so you can understand if they changed the history over there, what do you think they changed over here in the States? You still think you come from Africa? You still think everybody came from Africa? You still believe that? Huh? You still believe in this? Okay? Look, we on the money, man. You can't lie about the money. Charles II, Holy Roman Emperor, son of Emperor Louis of Poitiers. See? I'm just showing you the mural. I'm going to let y'all go through the website and look at everything. But I want to give you this, right? Okay? Look at this, bro. Right? Edith of England and Otto. Right? The Holy Roman Emperor. Married in 920 AD. You telling me that that's white people? Are you sure? Okay? It's on the wall. It's in the stone. Ain't no changing it now. Right? Ain't no changing it now. So I'm going to stop that there. I just wanted to show you if they'll change this, if they changing the nose off of this and the history of this, of Egypt, to try to perpetrate a fraud and snatch the history, then what do you think they did in North America? What do you think they did in North America? And that's why I'm telling you, a lot of y'all are brainwashed with black liberation theology. You only see the world through the prism of race. You only can identify with accomplishments through the prism of race. And I'm telling you, they gave you this African history and this slave history, and they gave you this black liberation theology and this communist mentality as a sleeper cell methodology to get y'all to rise up against the establishment, to take out their enemies. And we'll get into who the enemies are. So if you talking about black power, and you talking about going back to Africa, and you talking about you're gonna fight against the establishment, and you talking all this John Henry Clark shit, all of this Ivan Van Sertima shit, all of this before Columbus shit, right? If you are on this racial methodology that was fed to you and propagandized to you by the small hats, I know what master is ruling you. I know what slave master is really ruling you. They used black liberation theology. They used all of your so-called black leaders as a methodology and a tool to sheep you out. And that's what they did. All right, that's what they did. And I'm going to show you now how they did that shit over in North America. I just showed you how they did it over in Europe, right? I just showed you the pictures. I showed you the noses knocked off. I showed you a lot of the emperors and some of the kings and some of the wives and the queens who were melanated, but you never heard about them. I just showed you that. All right, you will go and look it up. Prove me wrong if you need to. If you need to go prove me wrong, go look it up, and you'll find everything I laid out for you right here is the truth. Right? I'm not trying to say all of Rome was black. That's a lie. All of Rome was not black. The Byzantine Empire even wasn't all black. So you walking around thinking that black people and white people weren't able to get along and work together. You going around thinking that black people and white people somehow were mortal enemies from the very beginning. We're going to get into Tartaria. We're going to get into the Pleiadians. We're going to get into a lot of shit today to break this open for you, because I'm going to wake you up today with the truth. With the truth. Right? So let's get into it. Now, I want you to look at this for me. Who is this? Do you know who this is? Are you sure you know who this is? Okay. Now, why am I showing you this picture? I'm showing you this. This is a statue of Pocahontas' father. Pocahontas had a father, right? Okay. His name was Chief Powhatan. Chief Powhatan. All right. And he is the father of Pocahontas. And this statue is located in the Virginia Museum of History and Culture in Richmond. I think this bronze statue was an artifact. It's called an artifact on the website. And I believe it's been there since 1934. Either 1934 or 1924. It's been in there. All right. So this ain't no new shit that they made last year, you know, in 2020. This has been there, according to the records, since 1934, I believe. All right. Now, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Okay. Because we have to have a conversation now. We have to have a conversation now. Because we cannot sit up here and say that all African Americans came from Africa if the Native Americans look like this. I'm gonna let you marinate with that for a minute. We can't say that. He has African features. Maybe he just has indigenous features. Maybe we'll just call it indigenous features. All right. And I'm trying to tell y'all, a lot of the so-called Native Americans are Asian descent. They look like Asians. Their hair is like Asians. Their skin color is like Asians. Some of them are a little swarty, more swarty than others. But for the most part, you can look at their face and look at their hair and tell that they're Asians. And Mexicans look like Asians too. In fact, Mexicans look like a more stouty configuration of Filipinos. Okay? And we'll get into Filipino history too in early America. But we have to start having a conversation, family. And the conversation being had, it's not about being a pretendian. It's about recognizing that the ancient indigenous people of North America and South America were melanated, and they were not the Native Americans that are being touted as indigenous people on this great place of North America today. They're not. Okay? This is Pocahontas' daddy. Now, why some of y'all been around for 30, 40 years and never seen who Pocahontas' daddy looked like? Why nobody ever told you in the history books? Why nobody ever sat down and say, hey, the Native Americans, the original indigenous Native Americans were black, were melanated, not from Siberia, not from Asia, but from North America. Why is the out of Africa theory the only theory they could throw up at you? Because the out of Africa theory is bullshit. The out of Africa theory assumes that life could only have emerged in one place on the entire planet. And that's bullshit. That doesn't make any sense. All the life, all the variety of life, nah, bro. Okay? How come we can't have an alternative perspective on this without y'all getting in y'all feelings and trying to say people trying to be pretendians, and they not? They not. You know. Now let's go to a video. I want to go to the video real quick because I don't want you to think this is Photoshop and with all the AI and shit. You know, it's a lot of AI out here now. Now, one of the things I like to do, since with all this AI and shit out here now, they're making it very hard for us to come back and clean up the mess. You know, so that's why we have to come through and show you the video, because a lot of you might not believe it. You know, so I'm gonna show you the video. So I showed you the picture. Let me show you the video. See? Got the indigenous feathers. You can see behind the head right there. You can see, I mean, bro, ain't no Native Americans that you know got hair like that, bro. I'm sorry, bro. That's black hair. Look, that is indigenous melanated hair. Okay? I don't know where y'all get this long hair from. That shit came in when the so-called Native Americans came into this country. We were here before them, bro. These people were here before them. The black melanated tight hair, curl hair was here before those Native Americans arrived, and they did the great psyop on y'all. Now, the interesting thing about this statue, I've called the museum several times to try to get more information about it. They call this statue an artifact. And under my understanding, if it's an artifact, that means it was actually taken from a real temple or structure. And if it was, you know, that's some information that we need to know. I can't verify that. You know, don't hold me to that. I'm trying to do more research, but I'm really trying to get to the bottom of this statue. Allegedly has been in there since 1934. I want to know who donated. I want to know who built it. I want to know who made it. I want to know when it got in there. I want to know all the details, because this is a part of our history that could be easily whitewashed. And they've moved this statue to different sections within the building. The other thing I want to make you aware of that we don't talk about enough, notice that all these museums all over the world, everywhere you go, whether it's Egypt, whether it is, France, go to the Louvre, you go all over to the museum in the United States, in DC, wherever you go to these museums, they got all these black people's artifacts. It's all melanated people's artifacts. Notice they don't have a lot of European people's artifacts. It's all melanated black people who had culture that they raped and pillaged and they put into these museums. Notice that, right? When have you gone to a museum, just white history museum, and just saw a bunch of shit that white people made? Like, when have you seen a display like that in Chicago, Atlanta, right? It's always your ancestors' artifacts, their history, their shit that's in a fucking museum. And so that's something that we have to deal with. Now, we got this out the way. So I just want you to see that this picture that I had up here was a real boy. I want you to see that picture I had up there is a real boy. All right, not a AI generated picture. All right. Now, let me show you this. Oh, I'm not done yet. I'm not done. We technically we just getting started. All right. This is the emblem of America. Right? I want you to look. Since you say black people trying to be pretendians, black people who do not embrace the out of Africa theory are trying to be pretendians. Okay, does that look like a modern day Native American to you? Does that look like traditional? Does that look like the type of Native Americans that you see on the reservations today? It does not. Okay, it does not. Now let me give you the history, because I want you to look up everything I'm saying. Okay, this emblem of America is in the British Museum. It ain't even over here. They took that shit from here and took it over there. And what you're going to learn, family, is that a lot of motherfuckers came over here and went back over there. And they got you thinking you need to go over there when they had already robbed and pillaged over here and took a bunch of shit back to Europe. Okay? So the British Museum right now is where you see this picture. Okay? Now this was in 1801. All right? It was originally published, which means it was created in 1798. But 1801 is when it became, they put it out, right? And it was put out by Haynes and Son. Haynes and Son. You know who that is. All right? You know who the Haynes and Sons are, right? Okay? All right? It is a representation of American people. Okay? I want to talk about it, bro. I want to talk about it. This is where it is. Now I'm gonna show you a video because they got this shit hid up in the British Museum. They got this shit tucked away, like way behind somewhere in the British Museum, where you can't even really get to it unless you book an appointment. I'm gonna show you the video to prove what I'm saying. I'm gonna prove everything I'm saying. This is the emblem of America, bro. That's what they call it, right? This is a sister. All right? That's how it looks. Now this is a colored version of it. The original version is in black and white. I'm going to show you that when we get to the video. Here's a color version. Now notice this leopard, this cat skin she got on her, right? That's a cat that's indigenous to North America. I keep telling y'all, the camel, indigenous to North America. The lion, indigenous to North America. They're extinct now, but they were indigenous to this area. I told you, all of your foods, going back to this Africa argument, out of 640 foods that are utilized in Africa today, over 600 of those foods came from North and South America alone. So how the hell you the mother Africa or anything? And no disrespect to Africa, we love our African people. But what I'm saying is you're not the mother of shit because you ain't even got all the food. All the food came from over here in South America. All right. So these are the Native American people of North America in the British Museum, held up. Okay, I'm going to show you the video. You don't believe me? I'm going to show you the video. Because I'm not playing games with y'all no more. We're not playing games with this shit no more. We're gonna do exactly what we got to do. Hold on one second. I'm just trying to find it. Give me a second. Okay.
How you doing? So this is level 4, all right? So this section is prints and drawings, all right? As you can see. Prints and drawings. Now in this room right here, you could go up in here and they have a lot of paintings and drawings, right? But what I'm looking for, okay, I keep telling y'all what I'm looking for. I came here day before yesterday to look for this, but a lady who worked here said, hey, you know what? They have this picture that I'm looking for in a private section and you have to set up a private viewing. My question is, how are you just able to walk into the Native American section, North America and Mexico? Then this right here is supposed to be here, but it's not. All right, she said, no, you have to make a special appointment. So I already told y'all how I got this appointment, right? So we about to, I'm on the search, lineage. I'm on the search, looking for the emblem of America. So come on, mate. We gotta find it, okay? All right. Boom.
Now that's the black and white one. See, that's the original one that they had in there and they've been holding in the British Museum. That shit came from over here. Pay attention.
Can I just flip through the pages? Or is that's the only picture here, right? Well, just this, yeah. So when was this, what was the information on that in terms of when was it printed or created?
I'll find out.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so I'm in the private room right now, and yes, please, yes. Thank you. So I'm in the private room right now, and I had to sign a little waiver. Okay, so yeah, man, this is real. It's real. It exists. It's in the British Museum in the private section, and you have to have a private appointment to come see this.
Okay, so we talking about facts now, family. We got to keep shit real at this point. All right. Now, if these were the people that were depicted in North America from the early travelers, early so-called explorers, colonizers, whatever you want to call them, okay, they didn't describe no Asian-looking people. They didn't describe the people that we are known or accustomed to calling Native Americans today. They would call the highly melanated black people of North America, the indigenous people, the original people of this hemisphere. Period. Period. Y'all been blackwashed. You've been blackwashed. You was given black liberation theology to get your ass over in Africa, to be snooping around in Africa when you already had indigenous people in a lineage here in North America. I'm not saying the transatlantic slave trade did not happen. I am not saying that. The transatlantic slave trade absolutely happened. We have comprehensive evidence that a transatlantic slave trade happened. But it was not at the level that they tried to make it. All of the so-called narratives, the Roots narrative, I want you to go back and research Roots and want you to find out for me, is Roots a real story or was it all made up by Mr. Alex Haley? And did a small hat back the story and fund the whole operation? I want you to go back and do some research. You might be surprised what you find. I want you to go and do some research on Harriet Tubman. I want you to go do some research on Harriet Tubman. I want you to try to dig up this story about Harriet Tubman. Now, I want you to do some research on Harriet Tubman. I want you to do some research on her. I want you to do some research on our sister, Harriet Tubman. I want you to do it. Now, what I want you to do next, I want you to do some research on Alex Haley's Roots. I want you to uncover what I uncovered. I ain't trying to force nothing on you, but I want you to reevaluate the book. Was this book real or was it a fake, fictitious story backed by a bunch of small hats? To help paint the narrative for you. I want you to do some research on Harriet Tubman. I'm not telling you what to believe. I want you to do some research on our sister Harriet Tubman and find out what was really going on with her. I want you to do some research on Nat Turner. I want you to do some research on Nat Turner. Because what you're going to find, beloved, is that they were weaving a tapestry and weaving a story for you to buy, to sell you a story that wasn't entirely true. They're weaving you a story that wasn't entirely true. Facts is facts. Let's go here. Now, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I'll be done with this in a minute because I don't have a lot of time left. So here's the historical researches on conquest of Peru, Mexico in the 13th century by Mongols accompanied with elephants. And the local agreement of history and tradition with the remains of elephants and mastodons found in the New World. Okay? You need to research this. Okay? I'm going to go to page 6 in the introduction. I'm going to go to page 6 in the introduction here. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let me go back just to make sure you see the cover of the book so you know I ain't making nothing up. Okay, here's an ancient map. We're going to dive into this map in a minute. Peru and Mexico, conquest, historical researches. Okay? This book, just for the record, so you know, this book, just so you know, 1827. You can see it right here. Hold on. Let me back this out for you. Now, this book here, published in London. Now, this book was published in London, 1827. Want to get you there. That. Let's go to the introduction. Okay. Now, look. I want to show you that this wasn't just a Bering Straits account of how the so-called Native Americans today got to America. All right. As I said before, we're going back to the introduction here in this book, which was London, March 20th, 1827. All right. 1827. Now, 13th century. Right, that's what we're dealing with. Here, it says, in the 6th page of the introduction to research on wars and sports of the Mongols and the Romans, right, the writer hinted at having met with some indications of a connection between who? Asia and America. Who? Asia and America. Long before the discovery by Columbus. All right, we ain't just talking Bering Straits, motherfucker. We going back to the history books and giving you these receipts. All right, long before that. Let me go in a little bit more because this may be too far for y'all to see. I want y'all to see this shit I'm reading. We got to be on the same fucking page. I want you to see this shit. Now look. Of the introduction to the researches on wars and sports of the Mongols. Mongols are the Asians. Mongoloids are the Asians. And Romans, the writer hinted at having met with some indications of a connection between who? Asia and who? America. Asia and America. We're not just talking the fucking Bering Straits. We're talking 13th century, bro. Long before the discovery of the New World by Columbus, right? From that time, he has kept this object in view. And such has been the success of his further inquiries that he now ventures confidently to affirm that who? Peru, Mexico, right? Peru, Mexico, and other countries in America were conquered. Conquered by who? The Mongols. That's why your Mexicans got Asian blood. That's why your Native Americans got more DNA in common with Asians than indigenous black people here in North America. Accompanied with elephants in the 13th century, right? The slow attainment of knowledge appears truly surprising when we contemplate that according to the literature of the most enlightened portion of mankind, the earth is presumed to have been created, right? 58 centuries. I'm going to go to the next page. 58 centuries, and that 35 of them, including the event, right, of the deluge, elapsed without our processing any European profane history. Right? Let's jump ahead. Okay? I need you to understand this. I need you to understand what we're saying here. No land of any importance was known to the Greeks, Romans, west of the shores of Africa. None was discovered by them on the east, beyond the longitude of 120 degrees from Greenwich, and most Marco Polo in the 13th century extended our knowledge to Japan. To Japan, bro. No other discovery except the Azores, right, was made till the year 1492. And ain't that the year they give your punk ass in the history books? Quit playing with me, bro. Quit playing with me. All right? It's more than just the Bering Straits that we can document that Asia had dominance in this hemisphere. That's why your Native Americans today got long hair, right? And that's why your Native Americans got Asian ancestry and they look like Asians. That's why. Okay? So quit playing with me. We're not playing these fucking games with y'all, bro. We're not playing these fucking games with y'all. We keeping this shit 100. Let's go forward. I'm jumping ahead a little bit because we're running out of time. Right? Let's go forward. Okay? When Columbus, on arrival to the New World, now Columbus comes, right? So by the travels of those authors, it was then known what immensely extensive empire was in power of the Mongols, called the Tartars. Bro, Tartar. That is where you get your Tartarian story from. Okay? That's the Tartarian story. Your Tartars, right? Also called the Tartar. Right? That's where you get your Tartarian story from. When Columbus, on his arrival to the New World, inquired of some of the natives respecting the gold of which they made their ornaments, they answered Cubanicon, which is Cuba. Cuba, right? And so full was his mind of Marco Polo and the East Indies that he imagined them, move them over, I just want you to follow with me. He imagined them speaking of the Grand Khan Kubali, who was the Mongol emperor of China and of more than half of the population of the globe when Polo was in that country. Okay? All right, let's continue. Such was the ignorance of the most sagacious geographers that had ever appeared respecting the extent of the earth that he supposed himself arrived in the Mongol Empire. See, motherfucker thought he came to Mongolia, bro. Because he's looking at these Native Americans that then took over. They look like they from Asia. So he suspected that he had arrived in the Mongolian Empire when he was 150 degrees short of it, right? And at this period, there was no doubt in the minds of persons of reflection and understanding that the earth is spherical, right? It was not till the voyage of Magellan in 1521 that it was proved to be so. Now, that's a whole nother can of worms we'll have to get into. Because if you motherfuckers thought you was in the Mongolian Empire, we can't trust that you know if the earth is a sphere or a plane. I'm just going to keep it real with y'all. I ain't got time for that shit. Columbus, from his mistake and the similarity of pepper, birds, crocodiles, called the country West India. Y'all didn't even know where the fuck y'all was at. You're not in India. You're not in India with the Dravidians. You are all the way in North America with the indigenous black people and the Mongolians who came in and interbred and took over a large portion of the land. Okay? So the Mohammedan Mongols and the 15th century did not suspect the convexity of the earth. Okay? So let me get this into perspective for you. These are the early voyagers and conquerors. They didn't know where they was going. Columbus didn't really know where he was going. Right? They got confused. They thought they were somewhere where they weren't. They thought they were going somewhere where they weren't. So we can't trust that they knew exactly what they were doing. So here we talk about a temple, and a considerable comparative degree of civilization will be found at Talamanco, right? In the north latitude 39 west of Lake Erie. That's up in Michigan, bro. That's by Chicago, Michigan. See? But the people bear evidence of a Mongol origin. See? Mongol origin. And the Talamanco is not far from two places where the remains of elephant grinders and those of Siberia and other mastodons have been found. Bro. So what this dude is saying is that the Mongols came over here and interbred and created this race that we call Native Americans. And that's why when you do DNA testing today and you go back and you look at the DNA evidence, the Native Americans have more DNA in common with Asians. Mexicans through South America, through Mexico, through Peru, have a lot of DNA in common with Asians. While the indigenous black people and brown people who were predecessors to them, right, who came before them, were wiped out. You see what I'm saying? So it's not just the Berlin Straits we talking about that y'all got over here. We have evidence now that a Asian influence came into North America and had influence in the area, bro. I'm just going to leave it there for now because we out of time. But, bro, stop playing with me. Okay? All right, we're going to come back with more. Stay woke. Follow the information. And remember, uncover the mystery of history.